Everybody. Hello. Welcome back to another live heartbeat tutorial. Today we are here just a couple hours later than usual because we are welcoming Bri Leever from Hawaii. And we're being very kind to people's time zones here. So welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in. If you can, in the chat, if you're tuning in live, let us know where you're tuning in from. I see we've got folks from South Carolina, a couple folks from there. We've got Wisconsin in the house. Drop the comments in. We'll be able to throw those graphics up on the screen. All right. Orlando, Georgia, Canmore, Paris, Long Island. All right. Atlanta, Georgia, Maryland. We got folks from all over. I love how global our audience is. I'm so excited to see everybody here. We have folks greeting you by name, Bri, already. So I'm going to go right through the introduction because apparently you need none, but we're going to do this anyway. So welcome, guys, to this session on how to hire a community manager. So if you're a new community manager, if you've been established, if you're solo, if you're wearing too many hats and you're thinking, hey, maybe it's time to bring in a little bit of support, this session's for you guys. And we are welcomed by none other than Bri Leever. Bri got her start building a community and growing it to a multi-million-dollar revenue stream for a brand in Portland, Oregon. Now she helps coaches, consultants, and creators build thriving online communities for their businesses. She's a community strategist by day and a camper van host by night on the Big Island of Hawaii. And you'll usually find her on, in, or under the water. So what a fantastic guest. Bri, your podcast, Dear Bri, has been fantastic to listen to. It is the reason I am part of the team here at Heartbeat, by the way, because I was binging that and stayed so much in the ecosystem that I started attending all the town halls, and then I listened and got in on the job and all that. So really cool. And yes, apparently your groupies in the chat know that you're recently married as well.
Off the market, yeah.
Yes. All right.
So Bri is responsible for much of the community setup in our community, the Hearth, and was community manager for a short time. So she knows what she's doing. That's why we have her here.
Fantastic. Welcome, Bri. Thank you so much. What can folks look forward to learning today?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is to be in front of the Heartbeat community and audience is always like such a pleasure. I've been so looking forward to this. So thank you for having me. Today, we're going to talk about hiring smarter, and we're going to talk about some of the obstacles that get in our way, why hiring is so hard. I'm going to give you 3 real life practical examples of how you can manage your community, either yourself or by bringing somebody on. And then we're going to finish it with some really practical ways to get some clarity in the hiring process. So I'm excited. Let's dive right in.
Oh, that sounds so good, guys. All right. As a reminder for everybody tuning in live, whether you're watching on LinkedIn Live or YouTube, all your comments come through the consolidated comment chat. And if you're in the studio audience that is linked through from the Hearth, you guys get to bring voice to your questions if you would like. You can always ask to voice or come up on stage when we do our Q&A. But I'm going to let Bri take over for steering this whole thing. So Bri, take it away. Please teach us.
Fabulous. Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate it. All right. Today we are talking about, let's get this going. How to hire a community manager by Bri Leever from Ember. They did such a great job of introducing me. A little bit more about me. I'm the CEO and community strategist over at Ember, where we help coaches, consultants, and creators build online, thriving communities. I've had fabulous experiences working with Heartbeat, and my community itself is also hosted on Heartbeat. So that's our playground for building communities, which you'll hear a little bit more about here in a second. All right, why is hiring so hard? And I'm curious to hear. And this session is going to be fairly conversational. So make sure that your chat is open because I would love to hear your thoughts, and even probably bring some people off mute if we have any hardies in here ready to share. So my first question is anyone here hesitant to bring someone onto your team? If that's you, you can head to the chat. You can add an emoji to the chat. You can add a +1 to the chat. Anyone here who is hesitant to bring someone onto your team? Oh, Mark, it's great to see you. Mark's in my community, and They have such a generous presence. Okay,
Well,
awesome.
We've got a number. We've got
you guys are all in the
several.
same. You guys are all in the right place. And Mike, tell me if I'm not using this platform correctly, but can I ask someone if they'd be willing to come off of mute and share what they're worried about in hiring?
Yes, if they're in the studio link, they can. At the very bottom of the screen, there is a button that says request or like to be on stage. You can click that, and then our producer, the person who has the power, which in this case is Misty, can approve that.
Okay, perfect. It sounds like Stephanie is volunteering, and maybe Kat request live call-in.
Misty, if you get the pop up on your end, it might be because you're the primary on this.
I have not gotten anything yet.
Okay.
So Kat or Stephanie, if you guys see at the bottom of the UI, there should be a button.
Here's one. Here comes
There
Stephanie.
we go. Perfect. Hey, Steph.
Hey.
You are live.
You are
Hey,
live.
Steph.
Welcome.
Hello.
Steph, do you mind sharing with us what are you worried about in hiring? What keeps you up at night?
Yeah, I have actually thought about this specific role for my community for a while, and part of it is one, consistent income and how we work out paying somebody to do this, and two is I've hired for corporate roles before, but this is not corporate, and what does that need to look like? And I'm already strapped, and like, there's not enough time on the table, and recognizing that hiring process also needs to include a good training and onboarding process so they know what I need them to do and how to do it. But that's also going to require me to add work on at least temporarily until I can get that off of my plate. So a couple of different things that I'm worried about there.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. That scaling up is a bear, and I wish I could say that I'm gonna solve that for you on this call, but I think I can at least ask some questions to help you know if you're prepared for that time. Those are really good insights. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And Dwight also shared, never hired for this role, but hiring in the past. It's like Forrest Gump said, it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. It can absolutely feel like that sometimes, Dwight. Thank you for sharing. Stephanie, thank you for coming on. That was super helpful to hear your insights. All right. Here's a couple reasons I've encountered why hiring is so hard to add to what Stephanie has shared. Misaligned expectations. So in a world where community can mean so many different things, it can be really difficult to know who really has the experience that you're looking for. If you've posted a role for a community manager in the past, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's common for there to be like a lot of social media managers to reach out, or maybe digital marketers, but to find someone who can really own and grow and nurture your community can be quite difficult to find someone who has had that experience in the past. Also, Stephanie, I love seeing your face live this whole time, but also you're welcome to if you need to go off or whatever.
Absolutely. I have no idea how to do this, so you guys are free to kick me out. Otherwise, I'm probably just gonna sit
We have
here.
a solid 0 hostage policy for our live streams. So yes, you're
I don't actually know how to kick somebody.
Here's a leave button. I'm gonna press it. We'll see what happens.
It might kick you out of the whole thing if you do that, though.
Okay, just come right back if that happens.
come right back in.
Okay.
We'll be more prepared next time. With
No, this is
how
great.
to disengage once you've come live with us.
It's a learning experience.
Oh, awesome. She said the leave button works. Okay, we're good.
Perfect. Okay, great. Now we know. I'm shaking it up on you guys. I'm putting this Riverside functionality to the test. All right, the second reason why hiring is so hard, murky roles and goals. So a lack of clear goals for your community and the person running it will easily, quickly send you off course. This can be around the direction of your community, but it can also be clarity around whose role is what. And I have a couple tools that I'm going to share for this as well. And the third reason why hiring is so hard, raise your hand if this resonates with you. We're bad managers. I know for me, this is something that I've been navigating for the last decade. We're used to going fast alone, especially if you are a consultant or a creator or a coach. you've built your business, and part of what makes your business so successful is that you're scrappy. You can move quickly. You don't have to run things by a big team. So, bringing on a team member, especially if this is your first hire, it often means slowing down, and that can feel really painful for us when we're not used to operating that way. But ultimately, it's a shift in how we work in our business so that we can go farther together. If you guys know the old African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I don't know about you, but I have not always been ready to go farther. I've really preferred to go faster for most of my life. Ironically, it wasn't until I got engaged that I realized there might need to be an identity shift here, or a shift of like how I want to live my life. And ironically, like that was actually when I started to recognize the need and desire to bring people onto a team with Ember. And if you're not in that place, that's okay. Part of my goal for this talk is that you'll get clarity on what's right for you today. And that might not actually be hiring, and that is also okay. I'd love for people to raise their hand or add an emoji or a +1 to the chat if you've ever hired someone and it's been a terrible experience. Maybe our friend Dwight has had this experience.
Dwight has, according to, and we have,
Yeah.
okay, several folks who have identified with that.
I am with you, and this has been something that I think I spent quite a few years kind of wondering, like, what's the secret to hiring someone who is just a great fit, who like takes ownership, who like I don't have to worry about, I don't have to really oversee or add much insight. Like, is it just paying a lot more money to hire someone with a lot more experience? And I can tell you from hiring people who have, you know, their fee is lower and their fee is quite high. While there's something to be said about hiring someone who has robust experience, the primary indicator to your relationship with the person that you hire isn't necessarily that person, but it is you as the leader. And that's like a really tough pill to swallow. The good news is that each bad experience that you have with someone is actually a treasure trove of information for us to learn about ourselves and to do better next time. So you're gonna kind of hate this because I kind of hate it. But a bad experience with someone on your team usually has more to say about us and our leadership than the person that we hired. That's not to say that you might not truly just end up hiring someone who is not a good fit and it's a bad experience for everyone despite your best leadership skills. It's a natural part of life. But what I want to focus on for the sake of this talk is the things that we can control, which is us, how we lead our team, and how we hire the right people. Hire slowly, fire quickly. Yeah, Bobby, I like that. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I know, Stephanie, that feels like the thing that you want, right? I just want to be able to give you an idea and you take it and you execute it. Trial runs can happen too. Vibing is so important.
Appreciate everybody sharing their thoughts in the chat here. Like it really gives us a window into where you're all at so we can kind of tailor this to you.
It's so real. Okay. Why hire now? Well, I believe that not everyone should hire now. Not all companies need a team. And for me, I mentioned a little bit of the backstory. I ran my business for 4 years, almost exclusively alone. I would have virtual assistants come in and out, but it was pretty much just me. And that really started to shift when I thought about in my personal life how now I was kind of saying, I believe that life will be better with this other person and we'll go farther together. We're going to be better together. And that really challenged me to look at my business in a different way and ask myself, like, what am I missing by not journeying with other people in my own company. But that might not be you, and you might be a freelancer, you might be a creator, you might be a consultant and used to operating alone, and the idea of building a team or hiring someone repulses you or stresses you out. And the only reason you're here is because your ego is telling you that in order to be successful, you need to hire. I read a newsletter from a friend. Her name is Calvina. She's a brand strategist, and she talked about meeting Seth Godin last week. And when she met Seth Godin, he introduced himself as a freelancer. And that really struck her because there is kind of this ego that comes with, like, I'm a CEO, or I lead a team, or I'm, a strategist. And so for him to claim what could be perceived as like such a humbling title of freelancer, and really for Seth Godin, who is like for many people like the marketing guy, for me he's also like the community guy. Like, this guy knows his stuff, and for him to claim the title of freelancer and to own it and say like, this truly is like, I love my work as a freelancer. I don't want to have a team with me. That's not my sweet spot right now. My best work will happen when I'm a freelancer. That's awesome. And if that's you, like, we need to take the courage to own it. And only when you're ready to work with other people should we be moving into the other space. So don't hire if you're looking for someone else to solve all of your problems. And notice what I didn't say. I didn't say don't hire if you're looking for an expert in the field that you're not an expert in. Like, that's good. I said don't hire if you're looking for someone else to solve all of your problems, because your problems will keep following you whether or not you hire someone. So we don't hire someone else to solve all of our problems. We might hire someone else who has an expertise that we don't have. But we need to be honest and be brave enough to look at our own problems, because hiring is not necessarily going to fix that. Okay, I'm just reading some of the comments here. Fractional community managers. Oh, okay. Good question. Okay, Bobby, I love that question. I'm going to ask Mike to put a pin in it for me, and we'll revisit.
Yep, we got those saved.
Thank you. Un says, I'm totally in love with my work, and I'm afraid someone I hire would have a cold or strict professional relationship with my community. At the same time, it's important to de-zoom and be more rational about it, because emotions can also get quite messy. Ooh, that's really good. We're gonna talk about that. Okay, so why hire now? For those who shouldn't hire, are people who you prefer to go faster alone, you don't like managing people, or you're impatient. Again, not all companies need a team. So if you're used to operating alone, and this is, it's going to serve you better to do your best work alone, that's great. Let's own that. For those who should hire, this is for people who hiring someone to help gets you closer to your highest self by doing your best work every day of your life. Your best work includes working with others. So if some of you are looking at like, I want to hire so that I never have to deal with people. I want to hire a community manager so I never have to hear any of my members complain. That's probably not going to get you very far. Okay, when you are hiring someone to work with you, part of what you're signing up for is working in tandem and collaborating with other people. That is part of your best work. If that's you, I want you to think about what it's costing you to not hire someone. I know we're live streaming right now, but close your eyes wherever you are. I want you to think about, what is it costing you energetically doing work that you don't want to do when you could be doing your best work? I want you to think about financially, how much more you could be moving your bottom line if you were doing the work that you loved and that needed you. I want you to think about the time and money you've wasted by not getting someone better in this role that you're thinking about, someone better than you. As your eyes are closed, I want you to see if any number for the amount of time or the amount of money that you've wasted, how much is it? A number might be popping into your mind right now. Yeah, opportunity cost is a huge factor. If a number popped into your mind, I'd invite you to add it to the chat. For me, it was about 20 hours a month and $2,000. 40 years, yeah. Thanks, Dwight. If a
I wish I had
came
a
your
number to
mind-
offer at this point, Bri, but I'm reflecting on my own self, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm in the should hire category right now, if I'm
That's
being
okay.
honest. Yeah.
That's okay. That's great. That's the honesty we're looking for. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Dwight. I'm not looking for anybody to have to do some back of napkin math right now, but just intuitively, at least 15 hours a week of losing time making mistakes, but I learned and I'm happy for that. Yeah, Rose, it's not profitable to get good at things you don't enjoy doing. Yeah, yep. Thank you all for sharing. So I'm going to be speaking to, from here on out, the people who, beyond a shadow of a doubt, you know that your best work, your most creative, abundant, successful work that you can do in this world will only happen with people on your team. I'm going to be speaking to you from here on out. Of course, if that's not you, you're welcome to stick around. I want to talk about
you in a few months. You never know.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. That might be you in a few months. It was me 4 years later after starting my business. Stephanie, thanks for sharing. All right, I want to share a few examples of that. We're going to talk about 3 types of people I have encountered in community building. I found every person I've encountered can fall into one of these 3 buckets, and I'm going to tell you how they can approach this problem of getting more help in their community. So I want to talk about Jess. Jess is a member of my community. She has a thriving business that serves over 500 students in her in-person art classes. She created her online community to supplement her in-person classes. She has like 80 paying members. She's eager to grow her community. And the problem that Jess has encountered is she's new to community building. So she's gone back and forth. Do I hire? I don't know this thing. This is not my skill. I like it. I could even love it, but I don't know what I don't know. So a few really important questions for Jess or someone like Jess to consider. What doesn't she know? What are the gaps in knowledge? What are the gaps in her own knowledge? And then on her team. So Jess actually already has a team. She has a team of teachers for her art studio. And the second question is, where are the gaps for her team? Is there anybody on her team who maybe has the makings of a community builder? Are there members in her community who have the making of a community builder? The third really important question for Jess to ask is, what are her business priorities today and in the next 5 years? And while there's no one right way to proceed, the path that Jess chose and the solution for her was to join the Ember community to move from creator to connector. So the solution for someone like Jess is to resource yourself. Jess had enough of a spark of wanting to be a connector and to become a community builder that she chose to invest in her own education and pay to be a part of spaces where she can practice and grow her skills. So for Jess, that specifically looked like joining the Ember community, but it could also look like a lot of other things. So joining the Hearth, attending events. Man, if you just went, you could spend a lifetime just going through all the recordings from the Hearth and all the expert sessions. Networking on LinkedIn with other community creators, joining other communities to see what's working, what's not, what do you like, what do you not like. Listening to the Dear Bri podcast, my favorite free resource. So there's a lot of ways that you can resource yourself as a community builder and as a founder if you're not ready to hire. However, when you are ready to hire, that moves me into my next profile, the strategist. So this is me, Bri Leever. I fall into this category. I'm the CEO and community strategist at Ember. We are a consultancy for community builders. And for me, I know the strategy behind community building. And while it's critical that I am an active part of my community, sharing feedback, facilitating programs, and guiding the space, my time isn't best spent in the weeds of the community operations. So the problem for me is finding someone who can take over operational tasks. Important questions for the strategist to ask. Do I have my processes clearly outlined and ready to hand off to another person? Am I patient enough to teach someone what they need to be successful? The answer was not always yes for me in that, but I had a really patient virtual assistant. We'll get to the solution here in a second. She was patient. She was patient enough with me for me to learn to be patient. Do I have enough time for this person to grow into the role? And is this person willing and eager to expand into a more strategic role? The solution for me was hiring, the title for their role is a content coordinator. This is someone who can learn and grow into the strategy of community management, but they start with more of the operational role in your community. So for me, this looked like someone who was a virtual assistant or a digital marketing assistant to assist in the operations. And I specifically went to a group, Emily Reagan, her website is emilyreaganpr.com. And she has like a community of virtual assistants, and you can post a job to their community. It's free to use. It's a really phenomenal group of people that she's gathered. So I actually posted my role for my like operational content and community manager to this group. Other things that have worked for me and I've seen for other people when you're looking for this specific role in the past is looking for referrals in places like really large networking communities. Like I have the logo of Old Girls Club up here, where you can quickly figure out where to go to hire the right person. All right, our third profile is the CEO. So this is another example of someone in my sphere who, this is Charisse, and Charisse is the CEO at Level Best. It's a firm for operations consulting for financial advisors. And for Charisse, she really doesn't need to be in the weeds in her community. The programs, the activity there can really be sustained by someone else while she focuses on the other areas of her business. The problem for Charisse was finding someone who can not only own and scale the community, but someone who can do that she can trust and she doesn't have to have constant oversight, right? Like the dream. For Charisse, the solution was finding someone to put in the role who has been hired for their experience and they've attained the skills that Charisse doesn't have. Charisse would be the first person to tell you, like, I'm not like looking to be a specialized community builder or community manager, but I'm ready to hire somebody who is. So Charisse hired an expert community manager in a fractional role to scale with her community through Ember. Why the fractional role? So fractional, I work primarily with early stage communities, and probably a lot of you are early stage communities as well, which means you're not ready to hire a full-time community manager. Like you wouldn't have enough for them to do. The fractional role solves that problem where you're able to get someone with a high level of expertise, but at a fraction of the price because you're not their only client. They might be managing 3 to 4 communities. That being said, some important questions. There are some important questions to ask when you're in this role. So the first one is, are you ready to invest for a fractional community manager $1,000 to $3,000 a month for that fractional community manager? The second question is, what are the goals for this community and how aggressively do you want to go after them? And then finally, and this is a little bit more getting to the deeper layers, how do I feel when I'm hiring someone to do something I don't know how to do? And I want you to take a second and ask that question for yourself, because it's, I think, one of the most vulnerable things you can do in a business when you take that step to hire somebody who has an expertise that you don't. Because if you're like me and you have trust issues and control issues, that's a very vulnerable place to be. How we helped overcome that, because what I've noticed is when we are hiring someone who has an expertise that we don't have, we tend to be afraid because we don't know fully that we can trust that person to take over our community, to steward it with care, because we can't tell if they're doing it right or if they're not doing it right. We're not the expert. So you're putting yourself in a pretty vulnerable position to trust this person.
It's your baby.
It is your baby.
You created, right? That's so special to you. It's like you're passing off your baby to a stranger.
Exactly. And you're like, does this au pair actually have babysitting experience? Or is it like, they don't have children of their own? Like, are they going to like mess up my child for life? I don't know.
Right.
So so you kind of start like looking over their shoulder and you're like, I don't know what you should be doing, but I'm definitely skeptical of what you are doing. Okay. So that's like the vibe that becomes established in this relationship. So we actually saw this at Ember. I've experienced it firsthand many times. And we were like, there's got to be a better way. So one of the things that we did for Charisse in this situation is we took her job description. We matched her with a list of community managers. She selected the one that was the best fit for her. We actually offered Charisse and their community manager 6 months of support where Charisse has worked with us. She knows us. She trusts us. Now her community manager isn't just leading the community on their own. They have an entire community of builders supporting their work. So even though Charisse doesn't necessarily like know how to tell if this person is on the right track or not, their new community manager has the support of a team who can tell, who can help course correct, who can help support or see where the blind spots might be. Because this is like, it's one of the most vulnerable positions that you can put yourself. And anytime we enter into that place, my solution is like, we need community. We need more people around to help us learn, grow, and remain accountable to each other. Kat, I just wanted to read your comment. Also important to decide if you want their help growing your membership or if you just want help with internal ops and communications inside the community. Yes, that's exactly it. So, and Kat, that's a little bit how I differentiate between the strategist and the CEO. The strategist is more so bringing somebody on for the operational work, whereas the CEO is like, okay, we need operations, and like practical execution, but I also need the underlying strategy to grow and increase engagement in the community. All right, thank you for that insight. So the first step here that I want to invite us into is getting clarity on the role. If you'll remember when we went back to the three big reasons why hiring is so hard, the murky roles and murky goals gets a lot of people. So I have a really practical solution for you on this one. I have a templated job description for a fractional community manager role. It's both the strategy and the operational execution within a community. So if all you're looking for is the operational execution, you can just like pull out that part and you don't have to have the strategy. You can get a copy of this job description when you add your email to the Ember newsletter. and that'll come right into your inbox. So where I've seen this really help is it articulates the role of a community manager in a way that is undeniably about managing a community and not about managing an audience, which sometimes when you're creating your own, it can be easy to start to tiptoe into audience building or content management outside of the community. This role is like very much a dedicated community manager. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Dwight. The next thing I want to share is a resource for when it is time to make your next hire for a community manager. And don't do it alone. That is my top advice. So at Ember, we have a hiring system where you can post a job description for a fractional community manager. We will match you with about a dozen highly qualified candidates for the role. And when you make your decision, your community manager gets 6 months of support in the Ember community and one-on-one guidance from me and our community strategists. So if and when the time is right for the CEOs in this group, I'll provide the link here and I'll add that to my profile. But I want to open it up for questions. So what questions do we have? Let me stop sharing my screen.
We should bubble up. Bobby was very patient. We had an awesome question from Bobby earlier on. I don't know if you can grab it, Misty, and get the graphic back up, or if it's too high up in the chat now, but I'll vocalize it. So Bobby asks, I have a few passionate people in my Heartbeat community wondering if they could be a community manager to help me grow mine. And then there's an add-on question of, is there a thing like a fractional community manager, which you just covered just now. So what about the passionate people within a community?
Yeah, absolutely. This is my favorite place to source community managers or moderators from. My only advice or kind of caution, if in case you haven't noticed, this has worked really well in the Heartbeat customer community in the Hearth. Both Mike and Misty started as customers. They were super generous. They were abundant in the advice that they were giving, and Heartbeat paid attention to that, and they were smart, and they were like, hey, let's formalize this arrangement. So it's a really smart move because at the end of the day, finding someone who is passionate to share generously in the community is something that you can't always necessarily instill in someone. You can always incentivize for them to do that. And employment is a big incentive. But when that's already naturally occurring, moving with that is great. It's easier to teach someone like the skills and mechanics around community building. It's much more difficult to teach someone to care. So when someone is already highly motivated to show up in your community, resourcing them with the education that they need around some of the mechanics of community building is much easier to do than finding someone who has all the mechanical skills but doesn't have the motivation behind it. So yeah, Bobby, I think that's a great way to do it. My recommendation would be if you have members who are super active, they're already popping in to help people, and that's your go-to for selecting a community manager. My only advice would be to make sure that you do resource them, because just because somebody is excited about your community and is super active doesn't mean that they are going to know what to do when like shit hits the fan in your community and there's conflict and they're like, what's our process for this? So there are certain things that are really nice to have in place, and resourcing them with the right education is going to be really important.
Wonderful insight there. I have a longer question from Layla here, and it has to deal with fit between the person and the culture of the community. Layla writes, what do I do if I have a community for high masking autistic adults, and the selling point is everyone inside is a high masking autistic adult? Does that mean I need to recruit from inside my community, likely someone inexperienced? Or do I hire someone with more experience who likely isn't autistic?
Yeah, this is a really good question. This comes up a lot. You're not the only one, Layla. This actually came up for Sharice's community because the question was like, if this is a community for operations consultants, for financial advisors, do they need to be kind of like in our industry? Do they need to be our target member in order to be a good community manager? And what I've seen by and large in the space, if you have a member who, to Bobby's point, is kind of showing the signs and like kind of acting like a community manager already, that's great. That doesn't always happen in communities. And so often you're in the other position where you're kind of like, you are looking for someone who might not be your target member. What I've found is that community managers tend to be some of the most empathetic, compassionate people, which means that even though they might not be having the exact same experience as your member, they are very practiced at putting themselves in the position of your member. And so there might be some, like, I call it like industry specific language. Like there might be some vernacular that your members are accustomed to that your community manager might have to learn how to talk the talk a little bit. But I found the community manager role attracts people who have a desire to deeply empathize and understand different types of people. So even if they are not that person, their ability to step into their shoes is quite high. So I think there's nothing wrong, and I'll always advocate for my clients when they're looking for a community manager. I say don't like look so narrowly for somebody who has industry experience. Look for somebody who has deep experience in community management and deep empathy skills, because they will be able to bridge the gap and lead your community in the way that it needs to be nurtured.
That is fantastic. And I think that's a very smart approach, just to agree, because I think there's many cases where we create these wonderful niche spaces for people. And do we then need to strictly adhere with where the business is going with our hiring to that niche? Essentially, then you're only ever hiring your own ICP, right? And what is the Venn diagram overlap between your ICP and the skills that you need to grow the business?
Yes. Yeah. And I've found that really it is like the thing that makes community management work is those people skills. So especially when your ICP is in an industry that might feel a little bit colder or might not necessarily attract people with very strong nurturing, empathy, people skills, like probably best to avoid somebody who is coming straight from your industry.
Yeah, what industry would that, like insurance actuaries? I'm trying to think.
Finance or like
Yeah.
engineering. People who are used to going it alone, like people who like don't always see a ton of value in community. I think those can be some of the most valuable communities because people never, you're gathering people who are so used to being lonely
Right.
that once they're in community, it's like, whoa. But yeah, you have to do
Yeah.
a lot of nurturing, a lot of posturing there.
I relate to that because my community, again, was customer before team member, focuses on solopreneurs. And by nature, they are all individualistic entrepreneurs. And so it is interesting to think about it in that context. We have another question here or a new question here this time from Becky. Becky writes, what is the best practice for introducing a community manager to your community? I have a group of 7,000 members who are used to me replying directly to them. What makes the most sense for this transition?
That's a really good question, Becky. So this is where, like, if your community manager does come from being a member, you have like a nice runway. You can kind of start easing them into the transition in the community and start looking to them as the expert or the go-to person. When you're like formally rolling out a new hire and a new community manager to the community, make a big deal about it. Like make a really big deal about it. Talk this person up, like you giving them props, you looking to them for their expertise. I'll do this all the time in my community, like, and so Lena is our content and community coordinator. And at the end of a call, I'll be like, we have events coming up. I don't know what they are because that's Lena's job. Lena, tell us what they are. Tell us what's coming up next. And any opportunity that I get where I'm like, oh, this is Lena's corner, I'm like, you don't want me answering that question. That's definitely a really good one for Lena. So anytime that you can, propping them up, if people are coming to you for something where they should be coming to the community manager, over time, they'll start to get it. Even if you're like, whenever you are posting front and center, every opportunity that you can get to prop up your new community manager, take it, because that's going to start to build trust. It's going to start to build authority for your community manager. And also, if you're doing that, and if this community manager is coming in and taking over like the vast majority of what you've been doing, you need to shut up. Like, you need to stop jumping in. You need to stop replying. You need to stop being the first person to do X, Y, and Z. And maybe you're not doing that, Becky. I'm just being playful here. But yeah, Lena is amazing, Mark. But Becky, making sure that you give your new community manager an adequate amount of space so that they can rise up. And just like in any good relationship, if you ever, if you ever disagree with something that they do or say or respond, that is always a private conversation in the background, because you never want to diminish their authority in front of the community. So the more that you kind of, and it's really hard, because a lot of community people, like, we say we're community people, but we kind of love that everybody needs us. We're like, I could be a community builder. I could be a savior. I don't know. It feels good. So taking that step back and letting somebody else like create the wins or save the day in your community can be kind of uncomfortable at first. Like, I'll be honest, like, I love doing that for people. So you really have to watch yourself, and sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it means pausing, but letting your community manager show up and be the hero in the community sometimes is really, really necessary.
That aligns so much with a lot of marketing psychology, where we see trust as transferable, right? We welcome Bri to this tutorial, and I say Bri is awesome, and you're probably gonna, even if you don't know Bri by some means, trust Bri at least as much as you trust Heartbeat, because Heartbeat has endorsed Bri. And so this is what you do, the same thing when you create a referral, when you have a testimony from a customer, that trust is transferred to the target of that effort, that endeavor. And I think that's a wonderful way to do it through events or through other community experiences. It works. It really does. Do we have any other, did I miss any other questions? I think we might be caught up at the moment. Did anybody have any other curiosities that you want to query Bri?
While we're waiting,
so far, yeah.
I'll add one more note for onboarding like a new community manager to your community. If you can like slightly manufacture an environment or a moment where you are showing how the new community manager has connected with, heard, and created change in the community, that is like a very profound moment for your community managers, or your community members, because they're used to seeing you as like the primary person who cares and is going to create any change. Even having your new community manager set up like 20 one-on-one calls with your most active members and tasking your new community manager with, hey, from each call, I want you to source one takeaway, one thing that we can change, improve, add to prune from the community. And then a week after your conversation, I want you to include that like in our next town hall and talk about why we made that change and where it came from. If you can start to create those bridges in your community, you're creating like a social capital and relationship with that new community manager that is like unparalleled. That's going to build trust.
Fantastic. We did get one last question I think we've got time for here from Becky again. Becky asked, Bri, can you cover how people sign up to find work through you? Is that a membership?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a free directory for fractional community managers. It's free to sign up for the directory. We also have, for folks who want to move into the fractional community manager role, but need a little bit more of that education, we have a course and certification that folks can go through in about 6 months, and they're also added to the directory. Yeah, happy to
right.
share the link for that.
Yes, any of the resources you have to share in there. Guys, as we start to come towards the top of the hour here, one of the things I always like to do is to learn from you all who have been here with us, what is one of the main things that you've taken away? Now, I ask that you don't put it in the chat quite yet. Maybe just type it in the bar, but let it sit. Let it marinate for a quick sec, because I'd love everybody to drop that through together as just an overwhelming waterfall of gratitude and learnings and takeaway. And Angela, your question, we're going to put all those links for resources in the chat as well. I see that. So guys, think about this. Think about what's the one main takeaway you're most grateful for. Think about that while I show you. I have a special thank you offer I want to make sure that we put up on screen for everybody who's tuned in to join us here today. So what I'll do is I'm going to steal the screen share here for a moment, and I'm going to share with folks who are maybe on the fence, who have thought about maybe joining the Heartbeat product, who have thought about maybe I want to build my own community, but you haven't started one yet. Or maybe you're in the middle of a free trial and you say, you know what, I'm still thinking about ways that I could apply all these things to build a community that is so fantastic that I definitely need a community manager, which I will then apply all of the learnings from Bri. We want to give you an easier time to get started. And so as a thank you for attending this lesson, we have an offer of 50% off your first 3 months, and that's whichever tier starter or growth that you want. But this is limited time, so it's only going to be live for the next 2 days. So if you started a free trial, brand new account, before midnight Eastern time on Friday the 12th, using heartbeat.chat/Bri as the URL you go to sign up, you will automatically get that offer appended if you upgrade. So think about that. If it's something that you're like, oh, I'm not sure, maybe I need a little bit of a lower cost of entry to get started, this is an offer we just wanted to extend to you guys for showing up to better yourself, to learn the skills. To go ahead and take advantage of this. So we've got that link in the chat there. I'm going to stop this screen share. Bri, is there anything you wanted to share before we adjourn, before I get this waterfall flowing our way?
I love it. I just wanted to add a little comment for Angel. Angel was asking, I may have missed it, but where's a good place to find someone good? I'd recommend our network of community managers, so you can, submit a job description there, and happy to connect you to a great community manager.
Wonderful.
Yeah, let's waterfall it.
Let's waterfall, guys. So I'm going to count 3, 2, 1. Drop your thing in. I want to hear what is the one takeaway? What is the thing that you've learned that you're super excited and grateful for having been here for? All right. Oh, okay. It's strolling fast. Misty, back up. Misty, I need backup.
Okay.
It's hard to get them when they're still coming in.
Yeah, I know. It's so fast. Like the scroll comes in. Okay. I'm thinking about opportunity cost and staying committed to your vision. So much clarity. I'm ready to hire. We have fractional community managers are a thing, and I should hire a CM sooner than I thought. The whole concept of a fractional community manager, and that Bri has an established and vetted resource for that. Fireworks and explosions, which is what's happening inside of our brains, no doubt. Not jumping off the cliff and building your wings on the way down. Life lesson. That's just a life lesson. That's a good one. Look for empathy and caring first. Yes, indeed. That it's okay to wait if I'm not ready, and source from inside my community, from Stephanie. Fantastic. Wonderful feedback, everybody. I appreciate learning what you guys take away from this, because we want to make sure we bring you those impactful moments of education. Before we adjourn, Misty, why don't you talk a little bit about the upcoming events that we have in the Hearth? Because I know we have this month's calendar queued up.
Tomorrow we have our September town hall. So every month Heartbeat does a town hall, so you can see what the team's been working on, what's coming, all the cool new features, and you can let your voice be heard if you have any feature requests or anything like that. And then October 1st we have, see if I can point the right way, Mike right here is going to be doing
Depends
our
on what order
tutorial.
the screens are in.
I know, I'm probably pointing somewhere else on a different version of this video. But Mike's going to be telling us how to use Facebook ads to acquire members for $2. And I'm really looking forward to that. So he, as he said, has his own Heartbeat community. He's testing out a strategy that's working well. And so he's going to share that with us, and just make sure that you go RSVP for that one for sure.
All right, guys, we're gonna get all these promos out. The invites will go up by email if you haven't gotten them already. But yes, I am I'm gonna have to talk to myself. Misty, you're gonna have to do all my part, and then I'll have to do all the co-host
I'll
part.
just
We'll
run the
figure it
whole
out.
show. It's fine. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. So definitely, if you haven't, get into the Hearth community, our free community for community builders, so that you can be amongst your peers and get all of the updates for events like this one that you just had from awesome hosts like Bri, and many, many more to come. The link for that session, Misty, you can drop the Join the Hearth link if you need to right in there.
Yeah.
But Bri, I want to thank you again. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, for answering the question. My session, I see that there. My session is going to be October 1st.
Yeah,
So
we
we'll
have
get that out
not
there.
created that event in the Hearth yet, if that's what you're asking. So I will be creating that very soon. Just keep
Yeah,
an eye out for
somebody
it.
didn't give her what she needed to make the event. I don't know who.
I wasn't gonna say that, but you did.
I have no problem being the butt end of the joke. This is totally fine. All right. Bri, thank you again. I appreciate you being here. It's a
Yeah,
wonderful thing to
thanks,
have you.
guys. Thank you for hosting me. This is a
Thank
delight.
you.
All right, guys. So what we'll do is we'll adjourn the live stream. Thank you all for tuning in, whether you're on YouTube or LinkedIn Live. The replays will be visible there. If you were in our studio audience, thank you for coming up on stage, the one who did, and for those who have been extremely active in the chat. Appreciate you all so much for the time. Guys, we'll hang around in the backstage in the green room to talk, but to everybody in the live audience, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you guys next time.